I just chased the orange eyebrow out of the conference. So, what was all that about? Venus asked. She'd put one hand on each of my shoulders so that I couldn't walk away from her and turned me round to face her. Is it usually this exciting? That same seductive grin. I think we'd better go somewhere and talk about it, don't you? I encouraged her to avoid the seductive charms of the first few bars in favour of Cafe Roma, which held special memories for me. This bar, I told her, was the place where all of us who worked on the boats would hang out. Pretty pricey. The idea was to have enough money to be able to order a drink and an ice cream. An ice cream? Why? I'm not sure. Maybe they soaked up the alcohol. I mean, look at all those alcopops that they're inventing now. We used to make our own. A paraquet and an ice cream in alternate mouthfuls. What's a paraquet? Perhaps we'd better order one, I said, raising an eyebrow provocatively. The menu hadn't changed much, except the prices had gone up. Pretty depressifying, I said. You'd have thought I'd finally be able to drink here without counting the pennies. Now, when I worked here, these things were so damn expensive, I used to rootle through the pockets of the overalls on the boat to scrape enough coins together for a night out. Innocent enough remark, I thought. But no. You mean you stole from the other workers? She asked. Knowing what I know now, it seemed a bit rich that she was questioning my morals. No, not really. Or, yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it depends on your point of view. I wasn't sure what to say. We all shared overalls, and if you left something in the pocket, you didn't expect to see it again. It wasn't stealing. I mean, if there'd been a note in there, but coins, nah, they were fair game. The waitress came over, one of those stunning brown-haired, brown-skinned Mediterranean women who just oozed sexuality. I leant over to Venus. You know you were asking about French women, I said. Try this one for size. She looked at me disappointedly and barely waited until the waitress had gone away, taking with her the order of our 2 paraquets and 2 ice creams before belittling my taste in women. I'd expected you to go for something more sophisticated, rich and classy. Sorry to disappoint, I said, but that does it for me. I'm not quite sure why I should have been apologising for my taste in women. After all, it's better than Robbie Williams. When asked what he looks for in a woman, he'd recently been heard to reply, a pulse. I'll pause for a second while the joke sinks in. After all, he no doubt worked hard on it, and it'd be a pity to let it go to waste. Back to my unmanly apologies for my taste in French women. I am a slain and pimple fellow. What you see is what you get. Hardly that plain, she said, tapping me on the cheek. Nor that simple. Now, come on, she said, grabbing my elbow and leaning towards me conspiratorially. What was all that about in the hall? Who's this guy with the orange eyebrow? He's certainly weird enough. Is he really a friend of yours? It could do no harm to let her into my confidence. I reasoned. If she was part of the plot, she'd already know, obviously, and if not, she might be able to help. Am I repeating myself? I think I may already have given you the benefit of my charmingly naive logic. If so, please feel free to wave the repeat sign liberally in the air. In fact, I feel a new rule coming on. Rule, whatever the next rule number is. Whenever you spot an unnecessary repetition, all viewers must wave the repeat sign in the air. Now, it's made by forming your first 2 fingers into a number 2. Unfortunately, identical to the international sign of abuse. Now, any complaints from the person working next to you should be sent to thevicar@thevicar.com. Back to Venus. I reached for my Midone pass and started to turn it over so that she could see the sticker on the back. As soon as I did so, I heard the vicar shouting to me, I would not advise you to do that, my dear punk. He was making his way through the cafe, dragging in his wake a man with long blonde hair, a ponytail and a beret, and the ageing Lord Crappenley. One of the worst photographs ever taken, he said to Venus, putting my pass back into my coat. One look and you will turn into an evil ghoul. My own is almost as bad. He reached into his pocket and showed Venus his own pass. But I'm being rude. Punk Sanderson and Venus Crappenley, may I introduce Steve LaBalle, who helped us in tracing the source of Billy G's computer files. Steve has been kind enough to express an interest in my concept of recorded music that never plays the same way twice. He wants to raise some money to develop the idea. The vicar looked around for a chair. I jumped up out of mine, but it was too late. No, this is not a good place for a gathering, he was already saying. Shall we find somewhere more comfortable? What is it with him? We're all happily sozzled in a bar and he wants to uproot us. My dear punk, he said, this is your town. What do you suggest? Lay on Macduff. But Steve LaBalle, owner of this fine flat, loves to tell jokes about his first lunch with the vicar. Nothing to do with the plot, but he'd never forgive me if I missed it out. Although, I'm not sure I've got the courage. Right. We walked miles in search of something suitable for His Holiness, with Venus gradually progressing from politely slipping her arm through mine to the full arm-in-arm thing. Now, call me soft cushion, but Are women meant to flirt like this in front of their husbands, particularly when they're a lord of the realm standing 3 foot behind you, rather bizarrely lecturing your boss on chimney cleaning?
You must let me come and do the ones at your house. It's been a hobby of mine for years. These modern boxes aren't much fun, or you never get to use much rod. An old house like yours, you could be into a 20 or 30 foot length.
Anyway, eventually, we stopped at an appalling little fast food bar at the top right-hand corner of the park. It was, of course, the one that the vicar chose. I say of course, but perhaps some of you have not understood his criteria, which are 1, smoke-free, 2, quiet, 3, no music, i.e. completely empty with no atmosphere. He circled the completely empty room 2 or 3 times before finally choosing one of the tables, and then, after sitting in one of the chairs for a few seconds, got up and moved along to the one next door. He shuffled this chair a few inches backwards and forwards before deciding, yes, this will do perfectly. Not very decorous, but clean and functional. What do you think? He got up and offered a chair to the Craponies as if it was the Ritz. Please, be my guest. No need to stand on ceremony here. Now, what would it be? Excellent proposition. Exactly what a company like AOL Time Warner would have needed to make their mad merger work. Music, books, internet, films, a single artistic vision. Come on, even I knew it was a ridiculous plan, so why was the vicar so convinced that it would work? For the first time, I began to fear that the master was losing his touch.